So episode 6 begins with a flashback of Joel and Tommy as children. Tommy is afraid that he's going to be beaten by their father for trying to buy some weed. Joel, however, agrees to cover for his little brother and take the beating for him. The father then comes in and is actually super chill about it. The two share a beer as he tells Joel about his own abusive childhood. Before leaving, he tells Joel to be a better father than he was. Okay, so I can see what they were trying to do here. However, having the father cry makes him seem way too soft to be a tough and abusive parent. The scene begins with this building tension with Tommy and Joel being truly afraid of what their father might do to them. However, their dad doesn't really come across as this unreasonable or angry person. If you're going to establish that Joel and Tommy grew up in an abusive home, and that it shaped them into hardened men, then follow through on that idea. Have the father come in and be threatening. Create a dominating presence for the character so the audience can visibly understand why his sons are so afraid of him. Because all we get from him here is rationality, compassion, sympathy, and understanding. He shows no signs of being a piece of shit father like he's set up to be. This would have played out a lot better had the father not cried at all, and instead told the story about his own childhood with a bit more stoicism. But no, of course we have to have everyone crying because God forbid there are any tough male characters in this show.
You think I can still handle things, but I'm not who I was. I'm weak.
And that's unfortunately going to be a running theme in this episode. So we cut forward to Ellie's birthday. Joel comes into the bar to trade some Lego for some cake. And I'm sure I'm going to be labeled as some right-wing extremist for saying this, but Seth is 100% one of the best characters in this show. I hope we see more of him. Anyway, Joel goes home and makes a guitar for Ellie's birthday. This is interrupted by Tommy, who brings Ellie in after she burned herself in order to hide her bite marks. And you know what? I actually like this. It's good and solid development. Of course, Ellie would need to hide her immunity from everyone, and the only way she could really do that is to scar over her infection. That makes a lot of sense, and it shows how tough of a person Ellie is. Too bad this is all run over by Bella Ramsey's acting, but that's hardly worth mentioning at this point. She walks in all high on painkillers, but it's hard to distinguish this from her regular dopey performance. So the next day, Joel gives Ellie a cake, which she of course devours like a Neanderthal. And also, he gives her a guitar. Something that Ellie seems completely unimpressed by. Seriously, her reaction is so underwhelming, considering that even in the real world, a guitar would be an awesome gift, let alone in the apocalypse. But sure, Bella, act like someone has just given you a pair of fucking socks for Christmas. Very compelling. Okay, so Joel sings for Ellie, and the two share a very nice father-daughter moment. But of course, we all know where this is going. The writers are blatantly trying to wind the audience up with the most heart-wrenching, cute dad moments just so they can drop a cringe hammer on us a few minutes later. It's so fucking obvious it hurts to watch. So we then jump to Ellie's birthday the following year, and of course Joel ups the cuteness. He takes Ellie to this abandoned science museum, and we get this perfect moment.
I want a motherfucking dinosaur!
How do you like my krug?
Yep, they went with that. An entire crew of filmmakers sat around and gave their thumbs up to this scene. Good job, Neil. You did it. And can we talk for a minute about how fucking clean everyone looks in this show? This is the apocalypse, right? Why does everyone look like they walked right out of the dressing room? Dina walks around with a blowout, all the clothes are pristine, and nobody has any dirt or sweat on them. The Walking Dead, for example, made great use of their costume designs. In that show, every character's clothing looked worn out and well used. They had rips and tears from previous fights, pieces of clothing were stitched back together, and they would wear the same clothing for multiple seasons. The Walking Dead made more of an effort to make their characters look like they actually lived through a rough and extreme environment. And sure, Joel and Ellie are living in Jackson now, so they would actually have time to wash themselves, but look at this t-shirt. It looks like he just took it off the shelf at Walmart. There is no wear or tear on anything, which is odd considering that most clothes are not very durable, and again, it's been like 20 years since society collapsed. People would certainly need to make their own clothes at this point. These people simply don't look like they're actually in the apocalypse. And like I said in my last video, they don't act like it either. And with all of these issues piling up, it only breaks down the quality of the show. It doesn't actually feel like these people care enough about the world they're actually trying to create. But hey, just don't think about the mechanics of a post-apocalyptic world. That's not what this show is about, after all. So anyway, Ellie puts on this astronaut's helmet after making this creepy-ass face, and it's as pleasant to look at as you'd think it would be. Excluding the potato, this is another well-written moment. Because of Joel, Ellie gets to enjoy imagining a time before the world went to shit, and for a moment, she can truly be happy. However, this also ends Ellie's childhood, and from here on out, she'll be an insufferable teenager. If it wasn't such emotional baiting, it might have actually been enjoyable. But since we know we're nearing the cliff edge of this relationship, all we can feel is dread. But I'm sure that was the whole point, right? We then of course cut ahead to Ellie's next birthday, except this time it's dark and rainy instead of warm and sunny. I wonder if that means anything. Joel comes home with another cake only to find Ellie in bed with another girl. He also discovers that she's given Ellie a tattoo and that they were smoking weed together. Joel is upset by this, and the two argue a little bit before Ellie tells him that she's gay. Later that evening, Joel finds Ellie trying to move into the garage in rebellion of his overprotectiveness. When Joel tries to stop her, he pulls the old "my house, my rules" bit. Ellie checkmates him, however, by pointing out that this is not Joel's house because the people of Jackson gave it to him and that he doesn't actually own anything.
So, communism.
Nah, it ain't like that.
It is that, literally. This is the commune. We're communists.
You sure about that?
This silences Joel, and he changes his mind. This is Ellie and Joel's constant dynamic going through the rest of the episode. Joel tries to be a parent and give Ellie guidance, only to be put in his place for being a toxic and overbearing father. It's so cringe-inducing to see Joel, a former soldier, smuggler, and all-around badass, to be completely emasculated by this toe person. There is just this constant buckling from his character where he lets Ellie walk all over him for no reason. This makes me think that there's some kind of subtle message that Drunkman is trying to tell the audience. So anyway, Joel then comments on the symbolism of Ellie's moth tattoo. He says it's about change, growing, and such. I'm surprised that Joel didn't look straight into the camera when he said that. It's great that the characters openly talk about the themes of the story. So the next day, Joel goes to the therapist chick to ask her about the meaning behind the moth. Since this was a flashback, I thought she was going to be a bit more chipper before the loss of her husband, but no. She's got the same shithead attitude that she always does. She tells Joel that moths actually symbolize death. Oh my god, is that the other theme of this show? Holy shit, I wouldn't have guessed that unless these fucking hacks had told us straight out. So we do yet another time jump to another birthday, and this time Joel is taking Ellie out on patrol. Now for clarification, this has been something that Ellie has been wanting for years. She has literally begged Joel to train her, so you think that Ellie would approach the situation with some modesty and respect, right?
Wrong!
Instead of acting like the apprentice in this dynamic, Ellie instead is ungrateful, ignorant, rude, pushy, disrespectful, and demanding. She ignores Joel's lessons and belittles him for trying to teach her anything, when she should be grateful. Great character traits for the protagonist of your TV show, by the way. If I was Joel here, I would certainly be regretting my decision to save this rancid dwarf. He should have fucking let her die. The world might have been cured, and better yet, Ellie wouldn't be here to plague us with her shitty personality. But he unfortunately was way too selfish to do that. But don't worry, we're gonna get to that later. It's also hilarious that one of Joel's first lessons is to stick together while on patrol, which is something that Ellie consistently fails to do. Almost all of her plans with Dina is to split up, only for one of them to get attacked by a zombie. So unsurprisingly, despite these two doing the safest patrol, there is a call to action on the radio. Joel tells Ellie to go back to Jackson, but of course, she demands to go with him, which of course, he concedes to. We then get a little Game of Thrones reference. At least HBO is consistent. Ellie and Joel then find Eugene, who has already been bitten. Wait, why didn't they stop that horse from running away? Horses are an extremely valuable resource. There is no way they would just let it run off. But then again, they also left their horses on top of a ridge, so what am I saying? They probably have zero value. Anyway, Eugene wants to be taken back to Jackson in order to say goodbye to his wife before he dies. This, however, is against the rules, which is that if you're bitten, you need to die so that you don't risk turning anyone else. And that makes sense. But unsurprisingly, Ellie insists on doing what Eugene says, which is just painful to comprehend. This is a huge risk for absolutely zero benefit to their community. Again, Ellie has been begging to go on patrol for years, but despite this, she is immediately trying to fuck things up for everyone, even though she is supposed to be learning how to do this job. There are valuable lessons to learn here. Number 1, people die on patrol. That's part of the job. Number 2, the whole point of going on patrol is to keep Jackson safe from threats. You don't want to risk your entire community for the sake of one old man saying goodbye to his wife. Ellie is not being reasonable here. She's only proving that she is not ready for this responsibility. This goes against her own personal motivations for being here. But whatever, I guess they need some moral conundrum, so here we go. Joel then promises to take Eugene back to Jackson if Ellie goes and gets the horses. Of course, this is a lie, and when Ellie leaves, Joel kills Eugene. I am greatly summarizing here because this whole sequence takes forever. When they return to Jackson, Joel lies to the therapist chick about what really happened. He tells her that Eugene died bravely, contently going out on his own terms. Joel comforts her with a lie, but it's a kindness because she doesn't really need to hear the truth. Ellie then interrupts this by telling everyone what really happened.
You swore.
No. Fuck off.
Okay, so Ellie is angry at Joel because he lied about taking Eugene back to Jackson. Sure, that's reasonable considering being tricked by the person you trust the most isn't very nice. However, Joel shouldn't have entertained the idea in the first place, and Ellie should never have questioned his judgment. Again, you are learning the ropes here. You essentially pushed Joel into the situation when he should have just shot Eugene on the spot. Revealing the truth serves no purpose here except to turn the therapist and Joel against each other. I mean, sure, confront him about it afterwards, but did you really need to blurt everything out right away? Who does this help? God damn, why does Drunkman think that turning Ellie into this self-righteous dickhead would make her in any way likable to the audience? We know why Joel killed Eugene, and we know why he lied about it. Sure, you may not agree with how he handled the situation, but we at least understand him. Ellie acts like Joel is a monster for following the rules of their community while also protecting her from watching a friend die. It's so fucking painful. She also leaves part of the story out where Eugene threatened to kill them. This hardly shows Eugene to be a stable or trustworthy person if he's willing to pull a gun on a fellow patrolman and a child.
Bullshit!
Actually, wait, how is Ellie still allowed to be on patrol after this? Wouldn't this ruin her chances of being a patrolman forever? This is Ellie's first time, and she openly disobeyed her superior and broke the rules, and also caused needless disharmony within the community. Tommy is even a witness to this happening, for fuck's sake. Wouldn't this all come out in the report to the council like we saw in the first episode? How could anyone let this overgrown fetus to go out on patrol? What are the rules for if anyone can just break them whenever they want? But hey, I'm sure I'm just reading into all of this, right? We then do yet another time skip ahead to this cringy dance scene. The writers, of course, give Joel a nice moment with the communist instead of Tommy, even though these two characters have gotten like 5 seconds of screen time together this season. And then here it is, the final scene, the one we have all been waiting for. So Ellie confronts Joel on what happened to the Fireflies. Alright, so we're gonna have this discussion again. I'll try to make this brief since I covered most of it in a previous video, but here we go.
Could they have made a cure?
Okay, a strong emphasis on could have. First of all, there's no guarantee that a cure could have been possible. There was a chance. And this was coming from a group of fucking revolutionaries who have a lot to gain from controlling said cure. The idea that the Fireflies were simply going to give the vaccine to the world is pretty idealistic and extremely unlikely. Secondly, it's not like they sat Ellie down and asked for her permission. She literally was given zero decision making in this situation, and so Joel chose to save her life. Yet this is a problem for her. And sure, Ellie was willing to sacrifice herself, but there's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes attached to this idea. Joel had every right to go in there and save her from what very well could have been a pointless death. And do I need to point out that when someone saves your life, you should be grateful for it? Of course, this concept is completely foreign to this version of Ellie. Instead, she calls him selfish, which is weird considering that he fought through a group of armed soldiers to rescue her, but whatever. Joel then echoes the words of his own father.
I hope you do a little better than me.
Well then. I hope you do a little better than me.
This has zero thematic overlap, you stupid. Joel's father was abusive. He beat his sons because that was how he was treated by his own father. Joel, on the other hand, is soft, kind, and accepting of anything Ellie wants or does. He has never hurt her and has hardly even gotten in her way. If anything, he is a bad parent for all the opposite reasons his father was, because he's such a goddamn baby. What could Ellie do that is better than Joel at this point? Joel saved her life on multiple occasions, he gives her amazing gifts, he teaches her how to play an instrument, he shows her how to survive in the apocalypse, and he also gives her the responsibilities that she's always asked for. He in no way needs to apologize to this human cankle, let alone cry over her being angry at him. Ellie is the one who should be begging for forgiveness for being such an unlikable asshole. So the episode ends with this.
I don't think I can forgive you for this.
What's that? Say that again?
What? What the hell are you talking about? What?
But I would like to try.
Fucking kill me. This show is a shitty, disingenuous, and mean-spirited stain on humanity. Of course, we knew that Joel was going to be the kicking dog for this episode, but Jesus Christ, they did a real number on him here. Drunkman ripped Joel's spine out like he was the fucking Predator. What a weak and pathetic imitation of the character. Not to mention the absolute class difference in acting between Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. He might as well have brought a piece of cardboard around with him. It would have been more compelling. I guess it was nice seeing Ralph Cifaretto again. It's been a while since he's been in anything big, but too bad he was wasted on this trash.
It was all downhill from here. Now, I know it's tragic to think this way, but you can't argue with the fucking logic.
But yeah, this was Pedro Pascal's last time on the show, so they will really need to rely on Bella Ramsey now to carry it forward. And what a way to pass that torch along. I can't say I'm looking forward to the next episode, but it's like trying to look away from a car crash. I just gotta take a peek. So until then, enjoy the dread while you can. And if you could do me the favor of hitting that sweet like and subscribe button, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you really like my content, then hit that bell button so you know when my videos drop. And like always, I'll see you on the next one.